day 36 of my 40-day prayer condition for President Trump in America here on a fly on heaven's wall. Well, President Trump gave his first State of the Union address the other night, and apparently it's a home run. Even Democrats and the fake news media was lauding his speech. And the Democrats managed to actually heave themselves to their feet on a few occasions to give him a standing ovation. As his speech went on, it seemed like he was slowly winning some of the Democrats over. It was hard to ignore his speech. It was very positive, very American, very trying to include all Americans into a future of prosperity and equality and freedom. And that's what Trump is all about, in my view. But this brings up the question, or the issue, that Christians have always had in this country. And that is, once they get the reins of power, they try to do exactly what their enemies do, which is to enforce their societal views on the country. Sure, for most of our country's history, it was a Christian society. Everyone was Christian or culturally Christian. And everyone basically accepted the Christian nature of our laws based out of the Ten Commandments and basic Christian morality and ethics in society. But certainly since the 1960s or 70s, that's undergone radical change. And today, people see our country as much more religiously diverse. Therefore, it opens up the question of how can a country with freedom of religion, with more than one religion living in it, actually have a society that is fundamentally premised upon any one single religion? So that is a philosophical conundrum that American Christians are only now feeling the need to confront. Left-wing Christians, the political left, their tendency is to elevate their ideology over their spiritual beliefs, over the Spirit of God. And that's how we see politically left Christians supporting quite anti-Christian positions, such as abortion, or such as gay marriage, or in the past supporting segregation, supporting slavery, or even supporting big government, which is fundamentally rooted in the use of violent force against their fellow citizens in order to impose a social engineering project. Just take Obamacare. Probably one of the more violent government policies that politically left Christians are totally in line with. But the politically right Christians, they tend to elevate theology above their Christian belief, the Spirit of God. What that means is that the politically right Christians are only too willing to have laws passed that compel non-Christians, or certainly non-politically right Christians, to live their lives in a certain way. Laws about marriage, for instance. Laws about homosexuality. Laws about whatever you can think of that is important to the politically right Christian base. What this does is that it mandates an oppression against another group of people. And the inevitable response is resistance. And resistance always turns to conflict. That's kind of the cartoon I showed you last night or in yesterday's video, this constant seesawing back and forth from one group to another group to another group, all essentially practicing Cain's murder of Abel over and over and over and over again. This is the thing that Christians now need to make an adjustment to. Donald Trump has had a very positive and successful 40 days. Actually, more than 40 days now. He has kept many campaign promises. He is absolutely rooted to his intention to fulfill his campaign promises. He has reached out to, I think, every group of people in the country and had meetings with so many different groups. And these meetings have apparently been pretty successful. And he is determined to do what no one else has done before, especially President Obama, who left black Americans wallowing in the desert of poverty and despair and crime. In his State of the Union address, President Trump declared that he was going to deal with the violence in Chicago where so many people are being shot with guns. But not once did he make a call for gun control, because he believes in the Second Amendment. He understands that the crime in Chicago with guns is not a function of the availability of guns, but the criminal use of guns. And the criminal use of guns has a cause, and it can be solved. And he said that in his speech, that every problem we have as a country can be solved. We need to really pray, and as Christians and believers in God, think about the idea that we cannot impose our sensibilities on others in a free society. Either we have a free society or we don't. We have a society that is politically free, so that when one group gets into power, they impose their social engineering projects upon the population, using the violent force of government to achieve their ends. And then at the next election, that group gets thrown out and a new group gets put into power, who then do the exact same thing. And this has been, of course, America's history. We need to break that cycle of violence, a cycle of oppression. And it needs to start with Christians. Donald Trump can make a difference there too. Please play with me. Our beloved Father in heaven, our parent, our pater familias, as the Romans said. Father, we are not your servants. We're not your slaves. We do not obey you out of the servant's fear. As your children, we must obey the principles that you obey. First and foremost, the principle of unconditional love for others. That's why Jesus taught to love your enemy and do good to those who harm you. And it's also why Jesus said that the greatest commandment is to love the Lord your God. And the second is like it, to love your neighbor as yourself. Everything Jesus taught us was rooted in love, rooted in giving and serving others. He taught nothing else. And there have been people in history who have taught the exact same thing, through whom Jesus plainly was working. Father, we also know that your servant, Reverend Moon, worked directly with Jesus and taught the exact same message. He told us that the only two words that he would want to leave behind him is true love. And that if any person lived a life of unconditional love for others, that they didn't need religion, they didn't need a Messiah. They were already part of your heart, Father, just by the fact that they were living a life of unconditional love. Father, Donald Trump has come into office, and I can't help but think that it's a propitious time in history. This is a moment, Father, when America can snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. This is a time, Father, when we can put to bed once and for all the racial animosity in this country between black and white and Hispanic. When we can put to bed the political oppressions that have come from liberal progressive thinking and ideology, turning our government into a stick, into a weapon to be used against those who think differently than liberal progressives. And this is a time when Christians can learn to love their neighbors unconditionally, Father, to persuade people to live lives of goodness that will bring them ultimate happiness, rather than trying to impose upon them the laws of their church. Donald Trump has a great leadership moment here, Father, that Barack Obama squandered away because he was lost in his ideology, which he elevated above any spiritual beliefs, any spirit of God he may have been aware. Donald Trump has not only the same chance as Barack Obama, but he has the same risk to fail in the same way. So I pray, Father, that you're going to be with him every day. That good spirit world, saints and sages, Father, can be around President Trump, guiding him, helping him to always stay connected to his conscience, connected to his ethics and his belief in the freedom and absolute rights of every human being. Our country depends on it, Father. We all saw through 8 years of President Obama what happens to a country when its chief executive officer is corrupt and uses the office as a weapon to oppress and defeat those who think differently. I pray that Donald Trump will be able to return to that office, its benign nature and its foundation in respecting the individual liberty of every American, their right to conscience, and their ability to express it. I pray in true love, Father. Amen. Thank you again. This is day 36. Please subscribe to my channel, and if you like the videos, please like them. Click that like button down there on YouTube, and share them amongst your friends and neighbors. Don't just leave them where you see them. Find at least one person you could share it to. And until next time, take care and God bless.